Hi, and welcome back to my channel. This is the fourth and final video on this client project for a walnut dining room table with a single extension leaf and wooden rails. Now we're going to start to do the final joinery, put the table together, and I'll show you the table when it's all complete. So I've cut my side rail. This is the one with the notch. There's another one on the other end that has no notch for the extension leaf. And I've marked for my dominoes. So these marks are consistent across. I'll do the same on the other leg. I do want a shadow line on this, so I will set this back 1/8 of an inch. So I will cut the domino on the ends of the rail, and then I will set it down 1/8 of an inch and cut the dominoes on both legs. So I've marked out my dominoes here. These are the two long rails, these are the two short rails. Clamp them up flush, make life easier. So I'm going to cut these, then I'll cut the other sides, then I'll adjust the domino down 1/8 of an inch and cut those as well. So I've adjusted my domino. I used my stop gauge and added 1/8 of an inch and set my domino for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick test cut, put a domino, put it up against my rails, any one of them, and just confirm that this is going to leave me that 1/8 of an inch of a shadow line that I want. So this is the test domino I did. It's in an exact cutoff of one of my legs. I cut my own dominoes because I don't feel like paying $40 for what I have from scrap wood. I just use hardwood cutoffs. And this is one of the rails. So I really want to confirm that I've got a nice shadow line. And you can see here, this is my 1/8 inch shadow line. So I'm going to cut the dominoes in the legs now. We'll do these sides, flip them around, and do the other side. You'll see that, as I always do with walnut, I'm marking my domino slots in any joinery in red. I use a mechanical pencil. It's very easy, and I buy a whole, probably 2 dozen of the red leads. Just makes life a lot easier on walnut. I use yellow on oak, and then I'll use plain lead on cherry. That just makes things show up. So I'm going to glue up the short rails to the legs. This is the other short rail. I always mark on the top which faces out. And you can see this is the piece that you saw me earlier cut to make this little notch perfectly on the table saw. And you can see that now that it's glued up, it's really an invisible line. So I finished gluing up the end rails to the legs. The side rails, those are the longer rails, are fitted with dominoes now, but just a dry fit. You can see the clamps. But what I have done is these extension rails, I fit this into the slots that I cut here. So these are going in nice and smoothly. You may think there's a little bit of slop here, but once I put in the maple rails that have the exact same cutout, about 2 inches in, about 1 foot in, and then at the end, so I'll fit them exactly where this ends. There'll be almost no slop whatsoever, and when this comes all the way out, the extension, the leaf, is going to be about here. And then I will have some extension table or table leaf clamps that will clamp those together. Now I'm using a router and a jig which traps my festool router with a 3/4 inch bit to cut the dadoes. These dadoes will support the 4 rails, 3 of which have the exact same slot to capture the extension rail, and one of them is just a maple supporting rail. But these rails give the table a lot of structure and also guide the extension rail that supports the leaf. You can also see that I have the two side or long rails clamped together at the far end. This is so that when I cut the dadoes, they're exactly the same on the two long rails, and this will also help keep the table dead square because the dadoes will be the exact same marks on the table. So I've cut the dadoes in the side for the cross pieces, glued things up. As a final check, of course, I check my diagonals since I can't put a square on this because the rails are nicely inset into here. So I am going to check my diagonals, which is the easiest way, and put that on there. And I am exact, 51 1/4 on the diagonals. I've added in some supports into the leaf section of the table, the extension. Because this is fairly narrow and the grain runs this way, it may have a tendency to cup. So I routed in a groove here. I put in a solid walnut strip top and bottom, screwed it in, did not glue it, so there's room for this to expand and contract a little bit. And you may have seen on similar tables, but much larger, where people put metal C-channel. Same concept, that even though I'm going to finish this with probably about 6 coats of my custom finish, I don't want this to warp this way. I want it to be as flat as the tabletop. What I'm doing now is I'm marking on the walnut leaf extension rails where those two supports on the bottom of the leaves are going to hit. This will give me a positive stop when I pop the leaf onto the rails and allow everything to sit very flat. So I've marked the notch out with this rule. This is the depth of the rail that's in the extension leaf to keep it flat. So I've marked that in red so that it's easily visible on this and this. So this is the left and right rail that come out. I will cut these out now, and that will create a positive lock when this goes into the table like this. This will pop in there and lock that in so that the extension here that holds the leaf can't go any farther. I'm going to use these table extension supports at the joint between the main part of the table and the leaf. So there'll be 2 of these pins. These are slightly tapered, and one of the connection points will go on the table, the main part, and the other piece will go on the leaf, and then this piece will be slid in, one from each side, and this will support the table and lock it in. I believe there's a slight taper to this, so it really sucks it in. This is the mechanism that aligns the table leaf with the primary part of the table, and it's made in brass. So you can see that I've got my 3 rails with the pattern for the extension rail cut in. These are dry fitted right now. You can see these slide pretty easily now, still some fine tuning. So I've been using good quality rasp to fine tune these joints, a little bit of sandpaper and a shoulder plane. So I'm going to pull these out I'm going to glue these 3 rails in so that I can do some final fitting once they're all glued in, and then be ready to start putting my figure 8s in for the top. I am going to also glue in some thin maple rails here as guides. So once these are glued in, this will allow this to seamlessly go in. So I'll do these on both sides. I'll do them here as well, and that'll give it some extra smoothness when these slide in and out. So I've dry fitted the 3 rails that have the same pattern for the extension rail. I've been fitting these in and doing some fine tuning. These are sliding in pretty well. Still a little more fine tuning, and again, once I put some finish and paste wax, these will be even smoother. But you'll see there's very little racking capable on this. So I'm going to glue these in. The back one is already glued in, and then I'll do some final fitting once these are glued in, and then we'll be off.
Here I'm using my compact router with a 1/8 inch radius bit to ease the edge on the outside and inside portions of each leg. This is just to give it a little bit of softness. I'm then going to just take some 150 grit sandpaper and continue to just ease that edge and soften it. You'll see in here that I have the ends drilled out for some leveling feet because every client's floors have a slight bit of unevenness, and I'll show you that in a minute. So here I've cut threads into the wood itself in the bottom of each of the 4 legs, and these leveling feet thread in. The wooden threads are incredibly strong. You'll also see that I've done a slight chamfer to the bottoms on all 4 sides of all 4 legs. This is so if a client drags it, you don't get chip out, and these are gently sanded. Here's the completed walnut dining room table. The leaf supports are in, and this is the primary section of the table, 48 by 56 and seat 6. Here's the walnut dining room table completed, showing the leaf extensions and the center small support. The leaf will then fit into this with the positive stops and the notches. Here's the table with the leaf into those notches and the brass clips installed that give the table a lot of stability. And here's it from the end. This has the 3-part finish, and then 2 coats of pure tung oil finish, and 2 coats of buffed in paste wax. Hope you like it. Please like and subscribe. Send me any questions you have about this table, and I will be uploading videos for my next project very soon. Thanks a lot. Like and subscribe.